Good morning, folks. How you doing? My name is Neon. I just have a couple of details that I want to question concerning the Will Smith shooting that happened down in New Orleans. Well, first of all, condolences to the Will Smith family. By all means, our hearts go out to you. One of the things that kind of caught my attention from what I've read in the news, what I've seen on videotapes that other people have produced, well, I have one of my own that I like to just kind of ask a couple of questions. First things first, Will Smith left with his family, friends, whoever. They left the restaurant, they got in their vehicle and drove off. For several blocks, Will Smith in the silver Mercedes SUV was driving behind the red Hummer that was driven by Mr. Hayes. For whatever reason, Mr. Hayes' vehicle did not stop. It did slow down, kind of like a rolling stop. It wasn't at an intersection. It wasn't at a stoplight. It was in the middle of the street. And from the video that pretty much everybody's seen so far, there was nothing that would have caused Mr. Hayes to stop his vehicle other than to cause Mr. Smith to rear end him. Okay, I'm going on my conspiracy theorist phase. But to this date, it doesn't make sense why Mr. Hayes slowed his vehicle down. Now, in my profession, there are other reasons why a vehicle will just slow down for no reason. Basically, they're looking for another vehicle to rear end them. Thus, now we're looking at a cash cow. A lot of times, they look for these expensive cars to get in front of to where they can kind of do a stop and swoop, wherein now the vehicle behind has nowhere else to go, and now you rear end the vehicle in front of you. Now you have a lawsuit. Now your insurance company is paying for injuries and car repairs that were probably there or not there at all. So that's one reason I can see why Mr. Hayes slowed down. Maybe he was plotting and planning, saw the nice vehicle, and decided, guess what? It's time to get paid. Second thing, once the accident happened, as you've all probably seen by now, why did Mr. Smith decide to just leave? If you hit someone, you know if you hit someone. Okay, it appears that he attempted to go around the red Hummer as the red Hummer was pulling over to the side of the road and with haste wanted to get out of the area. Well, it appears that Mr. Hayes seen this and decided to follow. Now, who's to say? We don't know if it was to be an aggressor, to start an argument, or if he was just trying to get the license plate. As his lawyer stated, he was just trying to get the license plate of the vehicle that he was in front of. Well, looking at the location of where the accident took place, he would have had more than enough time to get the license plate and turn off. Vice hitting Mr. Smith, pushing him into another vehicle, and now the problem escalates. From what it looks like, there's another video out there where there's a Caucasian gentleman that says it appears that he was there. He states that a gentleman took off his shirt, which I'm starting to see. It appears that that person was Mr. Smith. So there was an altercation that was going on. Mr. Smith some way, shape, form, or fashion, took off his shirt and was the aggressor. On the videotape, the Caucasian gentleman states that one of the gentlemen said something about having another weapon. He didn't say that he produced the weapon. He said that he had a weapon. And then on the video, the Caucasian gentleman stated that the second gentleman, being Mr. Hayes, said, well, I have a weapon too. Now, I don't know if there was any gestures made after that, but for whatever reason, Mr. Hayes pretty much unloaded into the back of Mr. Smith, yes, causing his death. It appears that he may have been either sitting in his vehicle or just about to get out of his vehicle, because when the police found him, they stated that he was slumped over the steering wheel. So it really doesn't seem that he was actually out of the vehicle at that time. But who knows? He could have fell back into the vehicle. They said that there was approximately 8 wounds into Mr. Smith, and the wife was hit, I believe, like twice in the legs. I don't know if she was actually shot in the legs directly from the gun, or were those bullets that passed through her husband and hit her in the legs. That's very possible. Now, you have to remember as well, Mr. Smith is a pretty big guy. He was at a defensive end. So he got a little beef on him. I mean, depending on the caliber of the weapon, which I think was either a 40 or 45 caliber, could that have went through him and then into his wife? Very possible. Okay. Now, let me get back on my conspiracy theorists. Is it possible that Mr. Smith was set up? And you may think, well, how is that possible? Is it possible, and I hate to say this, that yes, he was shot 8 times and she was hit twice in the legs? Who's to say? Is it possible that the wife set him up? If I was the police, I would also be looking at if there was any relationship, any association between the wife and Mr. Hayes. It's just something I would look at. But again, I'm on my conspiracy theorist trip here, so bear with me. But other than that, it appears that Mr. Smith may have contributed to his own death. We know that he was at a restaurant. The probability of him having drank that evening was pretty high. Who's to say? Once the toxicology report comes out, we'll be able to see if he was drunk or not. But I just think there's a lot of factors there. And I can't wait till it all comes out. That way we'll be able to piece this together. Is it possible that this guy, Mr. Hayes, just wanted to kill somebody tonight? Who's to say? Hopefully I'm hoping no one ever has that type of logic where they just searching for people to kill. And we know what happens, but hopefully this isn't the case. One other thing I would love to see, since this is i.e. black on black crime, I would love to see Black Lives Matter step up to the plate. Because this is no difference. Either way, a black life was taken. So yes, I challenge Black Lives Matter to step up. Because Just because it wasn't taken by a white person doesn't mean that that life didn't matter, because it did. So Black Lives Matter, please step up to the plate and march in the streets and hold your picket signs and do what you must. By all means, if I was there in New Orleans, I'll be the first one to stand by your side. Because yes, Black lives should matter to Black people as well, not only when they're killed by white officers. So by all means, if you see this, please, if you have questions, anything contrary to what I'm saying, by all means, please, I accept that challenge, just to kind of think outside of the box, to figure this out. Hey, this is Neon at Night, and I'm signing off.